Hi all. Bit of a strange one this because I've never uploaded anything to social media before. I never really felt a need to. But I think this is something very important that I really want to share with you. I've tweeted it out a few times and it's got absolutely zero traction, but that's probably because I've got no followers. So I'm going to do a little video, put it out there and try and reach as many people as possible with it. The purpose of this video, or the subject of this video, is a poem by Rudyard Kipling called The Beginnings. And I can tell that probably there's going to be a lot of you out there now thinking, a poetry, I don't want to listen to poetry. And I tend to agree with you because I was very much the same. I still am the same. I grew up on a council estate, and if you read or was interested in poetry, you was likely to get dragged into the toilet and have your head flushed down it when you went to school. So I was never interested in poetry when I was growing up. I got to probably my early 20s, started reading some very important books, you know, the classics, and thought to myself, shall I give it a go? Let's give this poetry thing a go, I might like it now. Went out, bought a few poetry books, had a read of it, thought, this is complete garbage, I don't know anything to do with this, so I chucked it all out. Never gone back to it. But as I've got older, so I'm now mid-40s, there are actually 3 poems that I think are wonderful. And they are all written by the same guy, and that's Rudyard Kipling, who I don't really know much about Rudyard Kipling. I know he was a poet laureate, I believe, for England. I don't know much about him, maybe should have read a bit on Wikipedia before coming here. But what I do know is the 3 poems that I love, they're all written by the same guy, and I really feel like they encapsulate the British or maybe the English psyche. And the one I'm going to read to you today is, I believe it's such an important text, and I've read it many times, and the first time I read it sent hackles up my back because I completely understood it. And I think it's particularly pertinent with what has been happening and unfolding over the past couple of weeks with the so-called far-right riots, or as I like to call them, Starmer's riots. Although, to be fair, the fuse was lit many years ago. So I'm going to dive straight in and read it. It's a poem called The Beginnings by Rudyard Kipling. It was not part of their blood. It came to them very late, with long arrears to make good, when the English began to hate. They were not easily moved. They were icy and willing to wait till every count should be proved before the English began to hate. Their voices were even and low. Their eyes were level and straight. There was neither sign nor show when the English began to hate. It was not preached to the crowd, and it was not taught by the state. No man spoke it aloud when the English began to hate. It was not suddenly bred, and it will not swiftly abate through the chill years ahead, when time shall count from the date that the English began to hate. Now, the interesting thing to me about this, I really feel it talks to us and sums up our national psyche and our mood, the way we are. For instance, the first stanza, it was not part of our blood, it came to us very late. We are a very, very tolerant people. And when you look at what's been going off over the past 20 years, where we've said we do not want immigration, we do not want globalisation, the masses vote democratically in elections to change things, and nothing changes. The Uniparty gets in, things continue exactly the same. We're a very tolerant people. It builds up in the background. We are not easily moved. We are icy, willing to wait till every count should be proved before we begin to hate. We don't rush. We're not like some third world country where there's reports of a book being burnt or a woman being looked at in the wrong way, and all of a sudden there's mass riots and 400 people are hacked to death in the street. No, we don't do things like that in England. We're the English. We're icy, willing to wait till every count should be proved before the English begin to hate. The third verse, I think, it just absolutely sums us up, because it sums up me and my friends when I talk to them. You know, we'll sit around a campfire. Their voices were even and low. Their eyes were level and straight. There was neither sign nor show when the English began to hate. And I think that's kind of talking to, we don't have a blood rush. We don't run out in a demonstration of wild violence at the slightest thing. No, we sit there and we discuss it, and our eyes are level and straight. Well, we have to be fair about this. Discuss things in a civilised manner. But the problem is the last verse is, it was not suddenly bred, but it will not swiftly abate. It's going on under the surface. It's simmering tensions, and I think that we saw that, last month with the riots. And I do believe that if they think that throwing hardened criminals out of prison to make room for people who are shouting at the police and pointing at police dogs, if they think that this is going to swiftly abate, it isn't, because through the chill years ahead, the time shall count from this date that the English began to hate. Good morning.